How I earned over $50,000 at 17 years old by wholesaling real estate. What is up, guys? Ginn here, and in today's video, I want to give you a story, a lesson, and something you can use for this year on exactly how you can make your first $50,000 in wholesaling real estate. And I want to say this story by giving a little depth on my story starting out in wholesaling real estate, on how I made my first 50 grand at 17 years old in wholesaling real estate back in 2017. And then exactly, if I was going to start over again in 2023, what I would do to make that same $50,000. Now, a lot of things have changed in the past 6 years when I got started in this business, but I can tell you that if you put in the drive, the hustle, the mentality, and the will to never give up, you will become successful in this business. But before I break it down, do me a big favor, make sure you smash that like button, subscribe, and let's talk about it. So yes, I made over $50,000 at 17 years old. And by the time I graduated high school, I did turn 18, I made over $100,000 in pretty much under a year getting started in wholesaling real estate. Now, a lot of that has to come down to luck. A lot of this has to come down to, yes, my dad was the Ginn, but on top of that, I had to find the sellers myself, I had to lock up the deals myself, and ultimately the only person whooping my butt and kicking my butt was myself. So I want to share exactly my story starting out at 17 years old, and it's pretty simple. And this should be an underlining lesson for everybody watching this. Your first 50K, your first 3 or 4 deals in wholesaling real estate don't have to be complicated. They don't have to be this crazy, insanely complicated process to get your first, second, third, and fourth deal. It's all about finding people that just want to get rid of the property for cash and offering to buy the property with a cash offer. That is it. So please understand, you do not have to become an expert in wholesaling real estate to become successful. When I was starting out in this business, I knew nothing about real estate. I didn't know what flooring costs. I didn't know what looked good on cabinets. I didn't know if a kitchen had to be renovated. I didn't know much. The one thing I did know was the simple overview of the wholesaling real estate process. And I knew what was an ugly house and what wasn't an ugly house. I think I was smart enough to understand what mold or mildew was, but pretty much that was it. Even on my first appointment, there was brown spots on the roof and like circles, and I legit didn't know what that was. I thought that was like a paint splotch, and really that ended up being a roof leak. But if I did some Google searching and I wasn't so naive, I probably would have understood that. But here's the underlining reason: it didn't matter at all. Because I gave a lowball offer and because I found the motivated seller, and they had a huge motivation and me just lowballing them, it ended up me getting a good deal. And the truth is, the seller assumed I knew the roof leak. So me being stupid and naive and not knowing it actually was to my big advantage. So just understand this, you don't have to become an expert. But the one thing you do need to become an expert on is become an expert on controlling your emotions, your willpower, and your drive. If you can control those things, which is 100% in control of your life, of how hard you're gonna work, what you're gonna do in the day to become successful and better, and what you're gonna do to market to sellers and find deals, that's gonna lead to your wholesaling success. I didn't know anything at all about real estate investing or anything like that, but I knew go in the appointment, talk to the seller, give them an offer. The more I kept talking, the more it would have become apparent I wasn't the wholesaling real estate expert, but I never had to be. And remember, I got my first wholesaling real estate deal off of these things called bandit signs. Now, bandit signs are these "we buy ugly houses" signs that you find on the side of the road. And really that was one of my only options starting out in this business. Now remember, this was in 2017, so there's no SMS text blasting. Cold calling was first starting out as a thing, and 90% of all wholesaling real estate deals in my city at the time was basically just from direct mail. And nobody really was doing bandit signs too much, and that's really what I focused on. I went to a sign shop with all the $300 out of my bank account, and I printed out signs that basically said, "We buy ugly houses for cash." It just had a phone number on it. And I put them outside my high school wrestling tournaments, and I started getting calls. That's how I first made my first $50,000. Now, my first deal was over 20 grand. My second deal was about 22. And then I had about a $10,000, $12,000 deal before my 18th birthday. So roughly about $50,000 in profits. So I'm recommending for everybody watching this, the bandit signs worked not because I knew it was gonna work or it was the perfect marketing strategy. And looking back at it, it actually was the perfect marketing strategy for what I was doing, but I just tried it and it worked out. And so the thing is, you don't know if bandit signs, cold calling, SMS text blasting is going to work in your market or not, but you sure as heck should try it out and test it out. The lesson I want to tell you in the story of how I made my first 50 grand was just by testing it out. And yes, if I spent all my money and I failed, I probably just would have waited for my next paycheck as a bag boy and tried it over again on a new marketing strategy. Because I'm a person that doesn't quit. I'm a person that tries something and keeps going until I become successful. And I'm smart enough to know if it's something that I'm terrible at, I shouldn't be going after it. But really, I knew the more time I put in this business, the better I was gonna become at it. And this led to me when I was 19 years old to get really into cold calling. And that I absolutely sucked at. I was terrible at cold calling, but I kept cold calling, and got really stinking good at it. So the truth and the moral of the story today is you just gotta go marketing. The action is going to get you the results versus just sitting on your butt all day and doing nothing. So for everybody watching this, I do recommend if you're in your local market, try bandit signs out. Put 50 signs out. It might cost you 50, 100 bucks to do this, but just try it out. The worst that happens is, hey, you're at 100 bucks. But the best case scenario is you get a deal. Now remember, when I was 17 years old, I was working full time. I was a full-time high school student. I was at high school wrestling practice for 2+ hours a day. And for all my combat sports athletes, I was cutting weight every single week, so super dehydrated. On top of that, I was working 39 hours a week as a bag boy at my grocery store. I didn't work 40 hours a week because they didn't want to give me full-time pay, so good old minimum wage there. And I still found time to market and talk to sellers. I can tell you, it was a lot of work. It was very stressful, but I would not give it up for anything. Because me actually going out here at 5 a.m. after working all day, super tired, to go market and chase my dreams, it was 100% worth it. So if I'm looking back here at 2023 and I was 17 again, what would I do to make $50,000? Now, I think the first and foremost thing for everybody watching this is just try out bandit signs. They're most likely not going to be as efficient and good as regular marketing that I talk about, but it possibly could be. So I recommend for everybody, drop 100 bucks if you have it just to test it out and see what happens. I feel like there's more good than harm that can happen from doing that. And remember, at my free wholesaling course, freewholesaling.com, I have a whole module set on how to do bandit signs, so you know exactly how to do them. If I had to do it all over again, start reverse drawing for dollars. Now, I didn't even have that knowledge. I didn't even invent reverse drawing for dollars until I was 19, 20 years old. Really didn't even go hard in the paint on it until I was about 20, 21. Still would have done bandit signs because seriously, nobody in my market was doing bandit signs at the time. So it was a really good arbitrage on my success. And then on top of that, I'd get into cold calling sooner because just imagine, my cold calling skills, if I had an extra 2 years of knowledge and grind on the cold calling, because I was able to pull 1 to 2 deals every single month when I was 19 years old. Just imagine how much better I would have been if I started at 17. And I probably would have spent more time marketing. Now the problem was, when I was 17 years old, I had so much going on. Full-time high school student, wrestling team, basically full-time work. Weekends were shot from wrestling tournaments. And on top of that, you're gonna roll your eyes, but you gotta maintain some sort of social life in high school. It was very, very difficult to do, but I would have never traded that sacrifice for anything because that sacrifice I took, me being super tired and just going out there and putting bandit signs out, helped me to where I'm at now at 23 years old, where I don't have to sacrifice at all. Everybody knows I love video games. I love watching TV shows and movies and hanging out with friends. And I wasn't really able to do those things when I was 17, 18, and 19 years old. But because I made that sacrifice for a couple of years starting out as a beginner, I'm able to watch whatever I want, do whenever I want, with whoever I want, and travel around the entire country and the world because I have enough passive income that allows me to do that. Because I grinded and built up a business that makes millions of dollars every single year in my own bank account in pure profit. So I want you guys to understand, the sacrifice in the beginning is always worth it. I took 2 years of my life of just grinding and hard work for now the next 80 years of my life where I don't have to work. I think that's a really good investment where you invest 2 years of your life and you get 80 years of freedom versus the other way around where people invest 40 years of their life in a job so they can get 20 years of freedom. That is not a good ROI on your grind and hustle. On top of that, making millions of dollars, right? So make the small sacrifice today. I'm calling out every single 17, 18-year-old high schooler getting started in wholesaling real estate watching this. Don't let being 17 be your excuse. Get a contract signed and then have a legal parent or guardian sign that contract. Make sure they put the money in their bank account and then they can pay you when you're 18, or you guys can make a joint LLC. Talk to a lawyer. I'm not a legal advisor on this, but you can do this. And these are things I did do at 17 years old because I had a trusted parent that I could do it with. But make the small sacrifice today. It's not the sexy thing to do to be grinding all day, every day for the first 2 years outside of high school or in high school. And you're probably gonna be made fun of. You might be teased a little like, hey, you're not coming out? No, I'm cold calling. No, I'm doing bandit signs. No, I'm doing this. But just remember that sacrifice will flip on you because all my friends that were upset I didn't go to the bonfire to go put out bandit signs, I'm calling them up right now at 23 years old saying, hey, you wanna hang out? and they can't because they work a 9-to-5 job. They're tired. They can't go to Rome or Europe or anywhere in the world for a vacation with me because they worked a job and they didn't make that sacrifice. Now, it's not a sweat on them. It's not making fun of anyone that chooses that path, but I want you guys to understand what the sacrifice means. Me making that sacrifice in the beginning flipped the switch 2 years later where I was able to do anything I wanted. A lot of people live to be 16, 17 years old again. For a lot of people, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 years old is the prime of their life, the best years of their life. And I refuse that notion. I told myself the best years of my life are ahead of me. I'm not gonna be in a dead-end job for 40 years of my life. I'm gonna be in that little dead-end type job for 2 years, and then live the life that I want. Guys, make the sacrifice. I made 50 grand at 17 years old by marketing and grinding and never stopping. And I think you can do the same thing. Go out here, I believe in you, you can do it. Guys, if you got any value from this video, do me a big favor. Make sure you smash the like button, subscribe, go to freewholesaling.com, and I'll see you guys soon. This is Ginn signing out. Have a blessed one.